That was it.
Okay.
For that whole
Yeah.
year, you sort of cruised under everybody's radar. And then
Yeah.
Mr. Olympia, you came out and everyone was like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
okay, what up, guys? It's your boy Williams Fitness back again with another video. And as promised, we have now got Patrick Moore on with us. Those of you who obviously been following me for some time obviously know that Patrick burst onto the scenes quite literally at the Mr. Olympia 2019. Firstly, I obviously want to just jump straight into the 2019. Obviously, you got your pro card. Was it about 3.5 years ago now, roughly?
Yeah, it's 2017, then July.
Yeah.
July 2017, yeah.
What sort of, like, what got you into bodybuilding? Because obviously from 2017 to going to straight to an Olympia in such a short period really is quite
It's
phenomenal, really, isn't it?
it's crazy, man, because I'm a former basketball player, former boxer, so I was doing other sports as I was growing up.
Yeah.
And the one thing that was always consistent was being in the gym, was working out. And once I stopped everything else, I was still frequenting the gym every day. And about the time I was 17, 18 years old, I kind of got interested in working out, but it wasn't for the purpose of bodybuilding. At that time, I didn't even know what competing was or anything. So it's always funny because I tell people the same story. My first experience in the gym was training arms every day. And
We could
dude,
tell.
I did that. I literally did that for 6 years because I didn't know. And so I ran into a guy. First, there was a few guys that kind of played a key part, and it was funny because ultimately it ended up, landing me where I am now. And I ran into a guy. He said, "Man, you train pretty consistently in here, and I see you pretty often. And I see you train arms all the time. You should try training some other groups." And he wasn't insulting in the way he said it, but I'm just kind of summarizing. He said, "You got a good physique." I didn't quite know how to do so. I had seen the movements that I saw other guys doing, but
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. And in the gym, it can be intimidating when you first starting something new. So I'm not going to go and interrupt people with their headphones on and ask questions. So immediately I took to YouTube and, the internet, stuff like that, and started kind of really getting popular and people were posting and stuff. So then I started seeing different workouts and I started trying them in the gym. And the next thing you know, I started really learning my body and how to train. And some years that went by, a few years went by, and I ended up switching to a 24-hour fitness here in Houston. And I ran into a guy, and he said, "This is the next part of the story." And he tells me, "Oh man, you should compete." And I tell him, "What is that?" And, "Oh, where you go and you're on stage and you show your body, whatever." And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm not doing that." I'm not getting on stage in underwear. I'm just not going to do that. And so the childish mentality, right? I didn't know any better. And so he was like, "Oh, man, you got it mixed up, man. You can get sponsors. You can do this. You can do all these different things." And I didn't know what a sponsor was, like in that realm anyway. I knew what a sponsor was because, I had been, with boxing and stuff like that. We knew the promoters who would put on events. And so I didn't pay it any mind then. And he would see me from time to time and he'd say, "What's up?" I'd say, "What's up?" And as I started to get bigger, a couple of years went by, and I think I was weighing somewhere around maybe 190, 200 pounds. And he said, "Man, you ever give any more thought to competing?" And he finally wore me down. And I said, "All right, dude, you know what, man, I'll give it a shot." He told me, he said, "Man, I'll whatever you need, dude. If I know guys that own the nutrition store, he can hook you up with some supplements if you need this, that, and the other." And so we go and we do a show. And then we got second. That was a novice, right? So I said, "I'm done with this. This is stupid. It's dumb. I should have won." Once again, being
Usual
a
stuff.
child.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I got beat by an older guy, and the guy was like 40 something. And so, of course, I'm 20 something, hothead. And I'm like, "This old guy beat me. There's no way in hell. Yeah, I look better." Just all kind of emotions.
Your first show,
And
you placed second,
yeah.
and
And
you were
that wasn't good
complaining.
enough. Yeah, I was complaining, man. But the guy, he was with me every step of the way.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Man, I could just see you're competitive and you're highly competitive." I said, "I've always been like that. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to be 100%. So after that, I kind of was like, you know what, these guys, that guy beat me because he knew more. So now I need to learn. Like how did he beat me? Why did he beat me? That's when I started kind of seeing what condition was and just learning stuff. The next thing you know, we came back and did another show, and that was the Phil Heath Classic, and that was in 2014, and I won the overall at that show. I dieted for like 3 weeks. I was eating pizza, all kind of junk, right?
And
So
you still won.
and still won. That was the worst thing that could have happened though, because now I'm like, oh, I can do the sport, I can eat junk, I can not do cardio, all this stuff, right? So I go to nationals, man, and get smoked. I mean, my physique wasn't bad at nationals. It was good. It wasn't, but it was still almost dead last, you know. So of course I was never one of those guys that just give up. And I was like, okay, well, no big deal. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So this is what happened, you know. So then after that, I ended up going back home, came back to Houston, Texas. Took some time off, and I really started to train and really focus in on saying, okay, I want to be the best at this sport. Then I ended up doing a Texas State, which is a big show here in Texas, you know, it's Mission, Texas. And so I won that show. And I'm giving you, this is kind of the fast track story. So the guy I beat at that show, he actually turned pro 2 weeks later at the Nationals in 2016. So I said, that gave me some fuel. I'm like, okay, so this guy turned pro, I just beat him. Let's go ahead and give it a shot at whatever national show is up. I'm up for it. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And so I started prepping for the 2017 USA's in July, and I was doing I won that show, my class, doing cardio at 45 minutes a week.
What, total?
Total. I kid you not, man. No joke. Because I was working with the nutritionist, and he was big on like not harming the muscle and keeping as much muscle as possible.
Not
He
go
wasn't
catabolic.
really
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And he wasn't really experienced though in the way of getting guys super conditioned.
Right.
So I more so won that show. My condition on a scale of 1 to 10 was probably a 6 or 7. But the shape is what kind of pushed me over the top to get that victory. You know, I didn't win overall. And so once I turned pro, I'm like, okay, well, it's 2017. What's next? And so immediately I'm like, what's the hardest show I can do? So New York Pro. And so go to 2018 New York Pro. Nathan Diasha, he won that show. Got a lot of respect for him. Juan Morel was in that show. A lot of heavy hitters, man, that were in that show. And I got 13th place. I wasn't sour about it, whatever, no biggie, because it's the new level. And at this time, I'm still only 3-4 years into the sport. I'm still learning. These guys have much experience on me. And then I went on to California that next week, and I placed 8th. So now I'm like, okay. And some of those guys came from New York. So I'm like, all right. So in the week, I was able to jump up some spots. So now I'm going back home. I'm shutting it down for the year. This was May of 2018. I'm shutting it down. You know, hey, let's just focus on 2019. These guys got me. I need a little bit more time. So that year, man, was really crucial for me because it gave me some time to say, you know what, now it's time to go to the next level. And so I trained hard. I dieted hard. I think I was doing an hour and a half of cardio a day. It's just every day along with the training. And so we came in, and California was a very good win. It was kind of it wasn't a give me show, but compared to the look I had before, it was like, man, this is a whole different guy. And it was enough to get that win. And so then we had some momentum. That's when people kind of started to see, okay, oh, who is Patrick Moore? Then people would look and see, oh, okay, you know.
I'll be honest, that's when I noticed you.
Everybody, bro. Everybody. And it was cool because it's like I still am new. What can I expect? These other guys have been here. And I didn't get a ton of clout off of that show because, you know, it's the California Pro. It's not considered like a first or second tier show like New York or Arnold or something like that.
Yeah,
so no one really kind of saw me coming, you know, at the Olympia because they're like, oh, well, whatever. He won a New York Pro. That's not there's no big names doing that show. Well, at least in 2019. 2018, Nathan Diasha did it. You know, it was Sarati. So there was some guys that were good that did the show. Luke Sando, but Luke ended up getting sick at that show. So he he didn't get to finish that show.
Yeah.
And so there were some names there. And so in 2019, people started to kind of see some of the prep photos come out. And then there were pages that were posting, and still no one knew who I was because I just, new guy, didn't get a big win. And what's he going to do? And so once I came out as Olympia, man, people were like, wow.
That was
okay,
it. For that whole
yeah,
year, you sort of cruised under everybody's radar. And then
yeah,
Mr. Olympia, you came out and everyone was like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? Like,
yeah. And it was a very good reaction because I stuck to my guns, man, with the training, and I knew everyone was going to be bigger. They're more
yeah,
experienced. They're older. They all, have that on me. They're all going to be bigger. So we had to say, well, where can we get them at? Why don't we just look different? We're going to have all the guys are going to come out. They're going to, they'll have their strengths, they'll have their weaknesses.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what's going to set us apart? So we said, okay, let's rely on this small waist and let's focus on these body parts and see if we can really kind of get some pop. And that's what it was, is once it came out, people, were like, damn, what is that? Because you had 1 through 9 and those guys came out, and then it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
seeing what the hell? It's like, okay, that's not, what is that? And I think that, even for the judges, they were like, okay, this guy's different. What do we do with him? Like
Yeah, I think you were
because
very, very overlooked. Very overlooked.
yeah.
Even, I
And
mean, go on, sorry.
oh no, you're good. You're good.
Well, can you remember the commentary on that from Sean Ray?
Yeah. So I
Where he said you were
literally heard
looked
some of
like a
it
young
after.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. And the thing is people were probably, there were people that were like, yeah, I kind of see it, because back when Ronnie first came, he had a similar structure. He was just, he's 5'10", 5'11". I'm 5'10". And he was around the same weight, 230 pounds, 235 pounds, something
Yeah.
like that. And so I think it was reminiscent of before he went and really blew up.
Yeah.
And, even Sean was saying he's going to have to pull that Ronnie Coleman and blow up and this, that, and the other. But I really couldn't accept that, man. This sport, and like a lot of sports, we're all going to have gifts. You got to stick with that,
Yeah,
and I
100%,
even went
yeah.
on after the Olympia, and everyone was like, you should do this, you should do that. I'm like, guys, then what'll happen is you will remember me how I looked the first time. And
Yeah.
then if I blow those lines, then you'll
Yeah.
all attack me and say he was good until this
This
point.
is,
And
I had William on at the weekend, William Bonac, and he was saying, because we
yeah,
mentioned you, because obviously after the Olympia last year, you sort of went viral more than Brandon, because everyone was like, who
yeah,
is Patrick Moore? Like, everyone was talking about you. All the networks, all the
yeah,
channels, me, RX Muscle, Next Strength, but everybody was like, Patrick Moore.
yeah,
But me and William were talking about it, and I said, like, what do you think of Patrick Moore? Because obviously he brings in something completely different. You've been called the savior of bodybuilding because you've still got that tiny waist, but you've got sort of like the X. So you've obviously
yeah,
got the V taper, the quads, the feathering in the quads. And William just said, and he was honest. He said, he loves you. He thinks your physique's fantastic, but he just said, just take your time. Take your
mm-hmm.
time, don't rush it. And I think over the last 3 years, that's exactly what you've done. And probably from I presume from your boxing mentality is to just work on your craft and your art and sort of put that into what you're doing today. So
Yeah.
from that then, when you finished at the Olympia, how did you feel when you saw all these outlets, sort of putting you on a pedestal almost as the savior of bodybuilding? How did that sort of register with you?
It really didn't set in because I was a little shocked at that reaction. I only went into the show with the expectations like, okay, this is what we did in California. Let's just focus on beating that physique.
Yeah.
Because this is your first Olympia. You've only been in the sport 4 or 5 years. You gotta, don't have big expectations. So
Yeah.
it was a shock, and I think once I came out, people were like, I always tell people, when bodybuilding hit the social media scene, like with Phil, and kind of on the end of Jay being at the top,
Yeah.
people were used to a certain kind of physique, and some people who who are new to bodybuilding or they don't really follow bodybuilding like that, they don't really know what the guys look like in the 80s and 90s. They can see pictures and they can see all those different things, but to see it in real life is a little different. So I think it was a shock factor. People were like, where'd he come from? Like, so this is like a classic guy with the size that can be in the open. So that's different for people, and so they were like, wow. And so that's why I try to tell people, and William told me, he told me backstage, he was like, yeah, just take your time, you're new. And that's what I try to tell people when they're like, they'll go and comment, oh, you should work on this, or you should work on that. You need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, guys, you do know that this sport takes time. And that's the one benefit that I have is I am still new here. So I have time to grow. My biggest mistake would be, just like you said, to rush it.
Yeah.
If I try to keep up with everyone else, William has built that muscle over time. Brandon, Phil, all these guys, they have built that muscle over time. So I can't leapfrog and think I'm going to go and just blow up. And then what'll happen? I tell people, this way, if you let me do it this way, there's two ways this goes. For one, I can finish the sport, at the top of my game, because what'll happen is every time you see me on stage, you will see an improved version.
Yeah.
So what if I go from 0 to 100 and then I can't go anymore? I'm maxed out. And then you'll lose that excitement that I'm trying to bring to the stage. Like, man, he's different every time. Somewhere he's better. He's a little bigger here. He's more dense here. His conditioning is better. So, I'm playing the long game.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people are wanting me to blow up and, put on all this crazy mass. No, man, like you said, dude, I'm a physique artist. Our bodies is a canvas. And right now I'm just sculpting it piece by piece. And an artist doesn't just throw stuff on the wall.
Yeah.
They're going to sit there and they have a vision. And fortunately for us, athletes, bodybuilders, you have to be a good artist with your body. So I've just been able to, like you said, look at my body and say, okay, I'm good here, I'm good there. So let's deal with that. But we need to be better here, and we need to be better here. So for now, this is the focus. Once we get that okay, then we can step back, look at the physique as a whole, and then go at it again. Because you're going to build it as it goes, And I think that's the best approach because it makes it exciting for me, training and improving. And then, like I said, for the fans, I told the guy today, I said, you guys are on this journey with me. I'm new just like y'all are new to me. So, let's just have some fun with this. And if I
love how excited you are about it. You can just tell that you get that vibe from you that you're just like talking about it. You're just excited.
Yeah, and because I tell people, man, I told someone earlier today, I'm like, I think a lot of people in life, people always ask, well, Patrick, man, you always have a good attitude. I'm like, well, I'm doing what I love. And I'm like, and you got to understand what it's like when you get up every day and you can tell yourself, man, what I'm paid to do, I could do it for free.
Yeah.
So why not have a positive attitude? And so I tell people like, so that makes me very successful at this bodybuilding because I came from, I didn't start lifting because I wanted to bodybuild. See, that's the difference between me and some other athletes is some said, I want to be a bodybuilder, so I'm going to start lifting weights.
Yeah.
Me, I had, 13 years of lifting before I even stepped on a stage. So I just like to work out.
Yeah.
So now that I'm able to get benefits from it, dude, it's like, I really am living exactly the life that I want. And so it's easy to be passionate about it. And so I look forward to every competition because, like I said, man, William, all those guys, they're like brothers to me. And so every time I see them on stage, it's like I get to fight with them. And then, we'll see who's better. And then if they beat me, cool. That means I have stuff I need to work on. So I messaged him, I commented on this post, and I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you because it gives me something to shoot for. When I can see them, I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like, I thought I was doing good, but man, I saw that. Okay.
Is there anyone in particular that you want to try and beat this year? Whether it be at the Arnold or the Olympia? Is there anybody that yeah, from past shows that you think, right, if I can just get past, say, Diasha or Sando, not like calling anybody out, but you
No,
must have.
he's gonna. When I tell you, he's gonna be like, "You bastard."
Go on, say
Cedric.
it. Cedric. Oh, I think you got him.
Because me and him have been going back and forth on social media, and because people, when I first came out, they were like, "Man, he's kind of along the lines of a Cedric McMillan, just on a smaller side." And so I know Cedric has won Arnold. He has a physique that is very. He can
He's
be very
Arnold's
high level.
favorite, though.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like, so he's the guy that's in my sights because he's won the show. And so once again, man, it gives me, if I can. Cedric has been in the top, top towards Olympia and all shows. So I feel like he's my next benchmark. If I can overtake him, then that kind of moves me up. And then I'll focus more on like a Dexter or William, those guys, because that's how I can tell if I'm improving, is trying to line up with the best,
So what's the plan after the Arnold? So if you don't obviously like win the Arnold, etc., have you got any shows planned in the interim before the Olympia, just for qualification wise, or?
So we have the Arnold, Ohio and Australia. So I'm in line for both of those.
Yeah.
So I'll go to Australia also. And after that, man, it's kind of up in the air. There's Toronto and Vancouver, but I'm kind of playing it by ear because, man, I've been on prep since last January because I started prep for the California last January.
Yeah.
Once California was in May, so it was June by the time that was over.
Yeah.
So I was right back in prep for the Olympia. So right after the Olympia, I kind of had a bug in my ear that I could possibly get the invite to the Arnold. So I never got out of prep mode because it's no point. It's October. So by the time I relax, it's going to be time to go back in. So I just stayed pretty much even keel across the board. And so I may take a short break. And like I said, there's Toronto and Vancouver because I would love to visit Canada. And I heard those shows are really good. And then on the long end of it, there's the Tampa Pro.
Yeah.
Because doing Tampa would give me a break in between, like maybe a month and a half. Then I could go into Tampa and then stay in line in shape for the Olympia.
So who do you plan this out with? Do you plan it out with Lee Labrada? Is this something you do at home with the wife, or is this?
Oh, so it's a whole the everything is I'll go back and forth with my coach Chris Aceto.
Okay.
So
right, okay.
So I work with Chris, and Chris will say, hey, Chris is one of those guys like, if you want to do it, do it. But I do ask him, what do you think? Do you think? But man, the way that my body is changing, because I'm going to be a very different look here at this Arnold Classic. That's why I posted what I did yesterday, and I said, hey, this is going to be it. Because I'm just going to tell you, people are going to be very surprised. They will be very surprised.
How long ago was that photo?
That one was a few days back.
Right, okay, just checking. Because Rami does it from like 2 weeks prior, doesn't he?
Oh, no, those guys, I give them always the most. And I hesitated on posting that one because I had released one the week before. I was trying to give the fans like a weekly update, kind of, hey, this is how I'm progressing. So this way, anyone who's competing, they can even use my page as a reference point. Like, Patrick looked like this 7 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out. So, and he's being successful. So maybe I have to try to use him as a reference point. So that's what the main point of the progress photos. It's not like oh, look at me, I'm doing great. I mean, this is my job. I don't require praise for it.
Hey, we appreciate we appreciate the pictures.
Yeah,
you can put them in videos then.
Because it's cool, man. I remember when I used to see like the guys that competed before I was a pro, and their pictures were motivating. So now I feel like I'm in a position. Well, you need to do the same, because there could be someone who has a similar shape or structure to you, and they're like, man, I would love to do open or whatever. So when they see those pictures, they're like, man, if he can do it, I can do it. So it kind of motivates everyone. But I wanted to leave a little bit of a wow factor as to, because we change a lot from 4 weeks out to the show. Right, that is our body. My body, man, it always does that. It's it's a huge jump. It's just weird, I think, because of the way that we structure the program. Once we start dropping carbs and cardio gets increased around 4 weeks out, my body, it turns a corner, and then it just starts burning up everything. So we get to a point to where I get really depleted, and then it can start to fill me back up.